what is the newest version of Triple Whale? Triple Whale is such like a widespread product, right? You've existed for so long, so much of e-commerce uses you. And I imagine that today, I saw the new launch, by the way. I imagine today it's nothing like, maybe doesn't even resemble the product that it used to be a couple of years ago. What's like yeah, what's the story?
Yeah, it's definitely not like the dashboard that used to be back in the day. Jeremiah, I remember like I don't remember
Yeah.
what it was, but we used to hang out a lot, back.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the first time we met was like probably early 2021. I don't remember how we got connected,
And
but we
then,
just started. It was before you guys had launched, and we were jamming on like go to market pricing, how to figure that stuff out. And then yeah, you guys. I just want to say too, like as somebody who was kind of like coming up at the same time, your strategy was so good, and you guys just completely blew it out of the water in terms of like the go to market approach, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I've always been very impressed, but it was fun to see. I just remember we were talking about like how do you price this thing, and then you guys found
dude,
like
that's
this.
still the question we have today.
What's that? That was still the question. Yeah,
Still the
exactly.
question today. How do you price this thing?
I actually feel like it's harder now than it was 5 years ago.
It's like a giant Rubik's cube. Like you turn one thing over here, and then like all these, yeah, because like so much of what we built is different now. Like it's just different. Um, like to your point, Jack. Like at the beginning of our journey, it was really just aggregate those like main KPIs that I cared about running my brand. And we were working together on a brand that my wife and I started. And we like rode that brand through COVID, and it was crazy. But like, I always wanted just like, give me just tell me what's going on in my pocket. Right. And there wasn't anything really out there. You either had, the Shopify app was awesome, still is awesome. You don't have everything else in there, like right in front of your face. Like if there's a big pop in sales, was it the ads? I mean, probably not. It was probably like an email campaign. Or like, can I see all that in one place? And that's great. So it's really like a quick aggregation of like just everything that I needed to get a quick TLDR from a founder standpoint, right? That was really the thing we launched with and what we started to gain a lot of traction with. And I think a lot of our customers today think that's still like the main thing we've got. Like a lot of our users, I wouldn't say our customers, but a lot of our users today think that's like what we are, is just like a dashboard. And they're like, oh, we're going to vibe code this thing now. We're like, okay, go for it. We'll actually give it to you for free, so you don't need to. But it wasn't really until iOS 14.5 and like the ad apocalypse stuff and all that. And we went heads down for like a good amount of time and built our pixel, our attribution, our customer journey solution, essentially to help advertisers understand what ads are working. And that turned our business into like it went from like side hustle thing that's like kind of cool to like, oh God, we got to rock and roll, go all in. I dropped that brand completely and just focused on this. And this was 4.5 years ago, or this is probably like 5.5 years ago, really. So it went from like just aggregate what's going on to like granularly what ads are working, pixel attribution. And then we got into creative, what creatives are working, all about visualization, really. And then I would say like when AI started to become a thing, like AJ's always been obsessed with AI. Like at the beginning, I'm always very like skeptical of everything, like came from the operator, like sort of scrappy entrepreneur, just like, does it save me money or make me money? If there's nothing in between, like there's no in between, that's all I care about. So like AI, I was like, okay, cool. But like, show me the money, how does this thing actually work? And it was so inaccessible and theoretical and ethereal and like futuristic to me. And I think once ChatGPT came out, we're like, oh, okay, kind of see how this works, and the whole world's like turned on fire, right? Like the whole thing just became a real story. So I was like, oh, wow, we should really, AJ's like, we need to like get ready for this thing even more so. And then I would say like maybe 2.5 years ago, we took the whole engineering team essentially and rebuilt. And we had like multiple backends and this database for that and this database for this. And like we finally unified everything into one giant schema. This is like, almost 3 years now, and just got really organized the data and hired the best people in the world to help us do that. And we just had this giant warehouse, underneath all of our clients and give them access to it as well. And they were able to make their own visualizations and things of this sort and really query their data beyond what somebody would just need as like a typical quick dashboard. You could really go into like the meat of what's going on with the data around your business.
I was curious. You said you took the entire engineering team. So I think this is like I mean, I think people who listen are like, they're operating their own business. They're like, what can I learn from what other people are doing? And I think this is a very hard question because at the time you guys were doing tens of millions of dollars of revenue and your current customers are asking you for stuff and you're confronted with this change that you're staring at in the face, right? And like, as you describe it, and you can tell me where I'm over interpreting, but as you describe it, AJ's like, dude, this AI thing is happening. We got to do this thing. And you're like, everybody just wants to make money. Like, and so like you're internally feeling the debate that is being felt by the whole industry in some ways, right?
By the way, that
How do
debate,
you decide the resource allocation in that context? Like actually, what was the debate and how did you actually resource allocate to what should be forward looking with what needs to be AI native versus maintaining current revenue?
that is like the question, and when we had this debate of like sort of focusing on like a whole, essentially let's build a data warehouse that is queryable for our customers. And then hopefully at some point, like AI as well, right? That's the bet really. The common theme that kind of helped me get over that hump, because I want to see something in front of me that's like, okay, this thing will make money. AJ is way more like, let's focus on like the new tech that's coming out. More like, visionary on that end for sure. I'm more like, okay, let's make money off this stuff. Okay. What helped me get over that hump is that we worked very closely with some of the bigger customers that were, in our customer base. And the common themes between all of them is that they just need new visualizations and they need their own. They need bespoke visualizations. And like that is extraordinarily hard to maintain a software company, right? When you have to have different visualizations that you need to manage like on a global side. So we're like, okay, let's just do this whole data warehouse play. Let's make this data queryable. Let's make a good UI around it. The schema is relatively defined. So it's not like a generalized sort of data warehouse tool where you have to go and take it out of the shelf and then like make it work for the language, the semantic language or the schema language for that industry. D2C is very well known in a sense. So we that's the way I justified it, and people wanted that. So that's how we did that sort of back and forth of when do we do this? How do we do this? Why do we focus on this? Who focuses on it?
And what percent and how did you think about allocating budget or resourcing? Like, was it 80-20, 70-30? Like, what's the guiding principle on resource allocation?
They used Triple Wall to see where the revenue was coming from. And they were like, oh, you know what? Here, AI.
What did you say, Jack?
I said, you guys use Triple Wall to see where the revenue is coming from. You're like, okay, let's spend more here.
It's a good question. I want to say like I have some grand, like, okay, we did exactly 20% here, 80% here. I want to say it's more like a focus from our teams. We had like the best, we had our infrastructure guy, we had our data team really focus a lot of their effort on this thing and to just iterate as fast as we could. But not necessarily was it so calculated, like we're going to allocate this amount here. We did put some like, let's say revenue goals or usage goals to help us kind of get along the way. Like as soon as I had a semblance of like what value this could bring right now to some of our key customers, I just got on the phone with them and started like pitching them. Because you can start to see with a lot of these customers that they have a very similar sort of trajectory story. That you have the startup that's just trying to get product market fit around their store and their products, and maybe that's 0 to 5 million. Then they get to 5 to 10 and they're like really starting to move and they have to start to standardize things and operationalize things. And the founder's kind of in all this stuff and starting to bring in agencies and hiring people. Then when you start to break out to 10, 15 to 20, that's say the 15 to 20, 25 range is when you start to really, you need a data team or you need maybe like more of a robust reporting solution. So we just follow these customers to like that trajectory and just met them. And then we offered a way to build reports for them as well with the team, with the SQL team internally that we have.
So Max, you redid the data structure for the purpose of reporting, not for AI. Or was the AI stuff in the back of your mind as well? Like, how are you thinking about that? Because obviously, you doing all that work has massive implications on how AI ready that data is and how usable it is in that context. But it doesn't sound like that was the primary objective. It sounds like the primary objective was actually solving a more near-term problem that your customers were having.
I would say that the the direction we were going is to get it ready for AI. Okay, but it wasn't so clear what that means just yet, But we knew we had to go in the direction of making it what a human needs to do now with that data. There will be a lot of patterns that are similar to what the AI is going to need. Now you need more of like definition around things, a lot more labels and things like that for the AI that maybe doesn't have all the context of what these rows and things actually mean when you actually operationalize it. We just went that direction. We kind of just like, we're going, and went all in on that.
That's interesting, hey? Adapting, but you don't know what you're adapting to,
That's what it is.
right? The world's changing. The product's going to be different in the future, but like we have to be ready for it, right?
That's what it is. And that's like this between AJ and I is like, okay, how much focus do we put on this new thing versus the current thing? That's the current tension between he and I, and it's a good little yin and yang,
You briefly said we took our best people, and then you like named certain types of people who you took to work on this project. I guess I have two questions. One is, how did you think about who should work on this project? And the second one was, how much of your founder mindset? Because again, you said I was calling the customers constant. I think there's this like underappreciated thing, which is if it has the founder attention and the founder is completely in it, and then there's some group of people, however you pick them to work on the thing, it can be 20%, 30%, 40%. Like it kind of ends up not mattering.
Correct.
Because the energy of the company is on that thing. And is that a fair way to articulate how you thought about the energy allocation?
100%. I couldn't agree more. And the thing here is that AJ and I both have that since we're co-founders here. And so he focused heavily on engineering and product. I was essentially like the practitioner of the product at the beginning and came from the industry. And through just my history, I'm just always had been marketing or selling. And so my intuition was around that. So we're building something. And then I would quickly like, how can I come in at, let's say, 85% done, start to pick out the things that I believe are sort of moldable to some type of offer conversation or value conversation, and then create that loop, bring it back to him, and then go from there. But the way you characterize that, I would say, is right.
How often do you find yourself, how fast are the iteration loops today relative to last year?
Oh man, I don't know. It's like night and day, You can go, right? I mean, I'm sure you're experiencing it.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously I have my own view on these things, but I like asking these questions because I think like this is what, like when I call Jeremiah one-on-one, this is what we talk, like, this is when I call my CEO friends, this is what we talk about on the phone. We're not talking about random like niceties. So not that I'm not trying to be nice. It's just that like, the world kind of is moving pretty fast and I don't have a choice because you run a business, you don't have a choice. You have to respond to the world. And I guess I'm curious.
I get exhausted, It's exhausting lately. Like,
well, that's what the money's for, Max. You know what I mean? That's what.
Like it went up such a high. What you're saying has always been the case, right? You're always kind of having that trade-off, but I don't know. Something happened the past like 60 days, 65 days. I think it was one weekend when Claude went nuts or whatever. And we're all like, whoa, this treadmill just sped up and like, you can't get off of it now. And like, you're not like.
Well, okay. This is something I think about a lot because I completely agree with you. Like the speed at which you need to make decisions now is so fast. You have to iterate very quickly. Max, I'm with you. It feels exhausting. Like I have a cold today. I'm not taking the day off. I mean, not that I probably would have before, but like, I just feel like I can take a break ever now. And that's hard. Like, I actually don't think that's good long-term. I'm curious how you think about that. Like how, like at a certain level, we're all people and we have different needs in a machine. What does that look like in like, this is a pace that's sustainable for a while, but like, is it sustainable for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What does that look like? I'm curious what you guys think.
I think it's important. What are we doing? What was that?
I'm not sure.
It's a movie thing. It's a movie thing. It's 3 years. Is it? Do we do this or do we do that? Like, which 3 are we doing? Yeah. It's I can't remember which movie it was from. It's like a famous scene from a movie. But yeah.
My view, I think it's important to kind of detach X and Twitter from like reality, like, and maybe you guys are really good at that. And, I'm not the best at that, but it's like, just because you have all these new things launching and you think that all of a sudden everyone's going to adopt them and everyone's going to be everyone's just going to vibe code what you've built, or like this or that, or this solution is going to be set up and therefore we're all done. It's like, it's not the technology and the pace of technology that is going to keep going. It's going to speed up. But I think the real challenge is people adopting it, using it, trusting it, actually getting value out of it. I had a friend of mine the other day who rents space for me upstairs, and he's a real estate broker. He sells storage units, right? Like those storage units on the side of the road. And he finally got into Claude, right? And not in Claude Code, just in regular Claude. And he built like this cool CRM kind of tool to track his deals. And he's non-technical, totally the opposite of what we're doing over here. And he's so empowered and like just blown away by what he's able to do. And I see him the next day. He's like still so excited. The next day, he's still so excited. I'm like, how much work did you get done the past 2 days? You have so much of this stuff. It's very distracting. It's exciting. It's like a kid in like a candy store. But like, is the candy good for you? I don't know. It's like, get the thing that really works that's going to get the results to you. And like, do we need to rebuild it every time because something new came out? I just think the adoption curves are way longer than we think. They're definitely faster than ever, but they're not like, someone launches something tomorrow and all of a sudden, done deal.
Can I give you a provocative counter to that?
Yeah.
I think that these curves, well, first of all, you're correct at a meta level. These things take longer than we say. I do think that it is also correct to say that these are going to be cohorted. So there's a cohort that's going to adopt it extremely fast, just like every other technology cycle, a cohort that adopts it, and then so on and so forth. And then, so let's just pretend that the labs are cohort 0, right? So they're using it the second that it releases because they're designing it or whatever. And then let's just say that healthcare is the last cohort because, they're very risk off and so on and so forth. So then the question is like, where's like tech, right? Because like most of the people who listen to this are operating tech companies. And I think tech is pretty close to the front. And the reason I think that is, and I'm sure you, and actually, sorry, I'm curious what you all are doing. I'll share what's happening at our company is every time we encounter that a SaaS tool cannot actually do something, we just ask Claude to do it. And then Claude can just do it. And so it's not like I'm sitting here trying to save money and therefore replacing SaaS, which is potentially true for other people why they turn off of a SaaS product. But I actually literally can't do what I am trying to do because SaaS was built as one size fits all. Your custom dashboard example is exactly the right example, which is like, that was built for one size fits all. And you were like, this is the dash you get. And then you described a set of customers who were like, actually, we don't want that. We want this other thing. And so now they can customize their software, right? And they're doing that through you for a variety of reasons that I'm curious too. There's a separate question I have there, but you can also do that. There are people who can do it through Claude for other use cases. And that's what we're doing. Every time we encounter something that we cannot do with a tool, and then what ends up happening is you can tell there's a big gap between software companies who understand that they have to move at unprecedented speed and those who are not doing that. And the ones who are not doing that, we can see it and we're like, I mean, like, we're just not going to renew because they're going to be so far behind. It won't be worth it.
I would say I still lean towards using a tool if it exists, but we're leaning very much into tools that have an AI focus. So, like we're working on getting set up with a CRM that's in like a private beta right now because it's super AI focused. We've got this like really small company. I think we were like customer number 4 that we're using as kind of like the brain of our business. That's an AI tool. Like we're not building it ourselves, but we're very close to the ground floor on some of the things that we're working with because they're giving us better support. and they're building things that are extremely impactful for us. And then in some cases, we are actually literally going and building stuff. Like I've got people on our team. We're doing like an AI challenge right now. It's really cool to see the things that people are putting together. Where we've got an engineer who um, built their own little. I don't even know exactly how they did it, but it's a set of skills and a bunch of stuff in Cloud where they're going and doing some bug triage stuff. And obviously there's tools that could do that for us, but he's got a specific way that works best for him. And so he's got this whole flow that he built out that is really great and gets him all the information he needs to go try to figure out what's going on with this bug. Or somebody who's got like a PM who basically built themselves a junior PM to scan and do things like when Shopify changelog event comes through, we grab that from the RSS feed, scan the code base, see if it's relevant to what we need, and then basically make some notes with that. So just a lot of things like that we're doing that are like it's there's no tool for that. Like that just doesn't exist. That wasn't something that you would really pay that much attention to in the past, and now you can fully automate some of these things. And so yeah, we're doing a mix. I lean towards use the tool if it's available because then we don't have to maintain it. But obviously, in some cases, it's better to just build your own thing and easier.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a transition and it depends on what it is. Like, I think we had this big initiative and was still happening. Is can we get? We have obviously engineering is doing tons of things with agentic coding, right? Product is doing way more things, more mock-ups that are interactive, POCs, almost things that are working. You know what I mean? That is happening on our end all the time. When then we started getting the GTM teams, like, what do you guys want to do? How do you want to build things? What do you want to build? You know, like a challenge. What can you build? What we're finding is that like they want to build lots of things, you know, and it's like almost freaking out engineering and product. Like who's maintaining these things? Who has access to these things? What about security? Rightfully so. There's a lot of questions there. You know, you got to connect this. You want to test this tool. Like there's like Victor, or there's all these other. You want to give it access to everything, and it just starts ripping through stuff. There's lots of questions on all that. I'd say one thing that's working well for us, and it's a specific advantage to us, is that Moby is essentially our AI tool, right? And it's akin to like a Claude with your data. And behind it are it's model agnostic. You can switch through the models, you can pick whatever you want, and it can create all the artifacts you're used to and more. It can do creative gen and anything. It really. But we also early on put it on our data internally. So we've been using Triple Whale and Moby internally for years, and just that's been awesome. So that's more of a secure environment internally if people want to build things, right? So we've had people building like pricing calculators or like quizzes or quarterly business review stuff for clients because you can really get cool and personalized. And then we tag in. We have all of our Avoma data, like our call data. We have our email HubSpot data, our CRM data, and our team's really able to do a lot of not only like deep analysis but reporting that we couldn't ever do.
I think the really like challenging thing about this moment is understanding. Yeah, I think the security part is definitely one part of it. I think something was said earlier around you're like a kid in a candy store. So where are you over engineering and where are you like building stuff for the sake of it and because you can and versus you should and it's actually a good customer need. Where are you finding the product decisions are starting to live? Right. At the risk of asking like the Twitter question, and I know we said like we're potentially too deep in Twitter, but at the risk of asking that question, I am personally struggling with this right now because we're building at such a fast rate. It is not obvious how to think about the product role. And our current observation is it is almost looking more like a curation role than it is a planning role. So product used to be a planning role. So it's like, I'm going to take all of this time to plan what we should build because the cost of building was so high. But it's so not high now. I mean, like I think maybe 2 orders of magnitude difference, right? Rough swags that you're just like building stuff. And now you're actually curating how it is delivered and which ones are the ones you are pushing and so on and so forth. You're curating and killing faster than you are planning. And And I think that's a very different job. And I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry, that's a big preamble. Where do you find the product job is moving, and how are you observing it changing inside of your organization?
That's a good question. That's a fun one. The product decisions have always lived heavily, let's say, between AJ and I, indexed more on AJ. And I would say, kind of look at our business in say 2 or 3 different ways. We have like it's almost funny to say like legacy business, although it's not legacy at all, but like our measurement dashboard business, let's say, which has a unique data set underneath it. So it's like, feels very like safe in the world of vibe coding. Okay. It's a data set. That's our attribution business, right? And then we have our AI business, which I believe that is really where that curation conversation happens, is because you can just build. So you're right. You can build so fast. It becomes almost like, if you can have really good product marketing internally, like you can target your customers inside the product really well. Who are they? What are their roles? Because we have a vast index. Like you have a store and you have like the media buyer, we have the founder, we have the ops guy. And so we can think about things differently now. And we almost have this situation where we can market to one at scale with our product internally. And so we can kind of throw things at the wall. People like it. Amazing. We'll broaden it. We'll broaden it. We'll go deeper on it. And I think to the point you made before, which was like the curation, it's much more of like I'm way more sensitive to the experience that people are having. Like if you can make everything, like should you make everything, first of all? And if you have a lot of different surface areas, how do you surface them up to the right people at the right time? And if they were a dud, get rid of them quickly, Like we had these template libraries for dashboards, right? And like it never really fit so well. We're kind of like, eh. And now we're thinking about a template library, but for like these workspaces that are essentially like agentic in nature. You have different, maybe there's a dashboard, there's an automation, there's an action log, and like you can do this thing now. And you can select from them and pull them off the shelf and add them to your dashboard, or add them to your navigation and operationalize them. But I think this curation piece that you said is speaks to me a lot. So the decisions, I believe, a lot of them are still like, AJ and I are deep in the product decisions, but there's great people on our team that have amazing ideas, and it's like, go for it. What are you testing for? Who likes it? Like, let's go, let's try it out and kill it quick if we need to.
Yeah, Rashad, what's it look like in your org? Because I think that's an interesting point. Like Max, you and AJ doing a lot of the product decisions. I like to be very heavily involved in product decisions too, but obviously at a certain point, like the decision making becomes the bottleneck. I don't actually have that much time for decision making on that front. It's a few hours a week, really. So I'm thinking about that. Like, what does that look like? But yeah, it's like, are you guys thinking of this in terms of, is there like a certain type of decision that can be made, maybe like at the engineer level, another type of decision that can be made at the PM, product owner, whatever type of role level that is, and then other decisions that are made at senior leadership level? Like, how are you guys thinking about that? Because ultimately, it does seem like you need to almost give people more decision-making autonomy on the stuff at every level in order to be able to move faster.
Yeah. Have you read Only the Paranoid Survive?
Yeah, a while back. I mean, yeah.
Have you, Jeremiah?
No, I haven't read it.
Okay.
It's
So
like a guiding principle.
yeah, so the one of the main takeaways from Only the Paranoid Survive is that they made decisions as systems instead of singular outputs. And so they had this feedback loop system as a decision-making principle, which I've been trying to push onto Fermat, which is extraordinarily difficult. But you don't do things and produce an output. You produce systems for decision-making that self-regulate. So for example, in the case of Intel, famously, the self-regulating decision was, hey, factory, if you see more demand for compute than memory, then shift production over to compute over memory. Okay, so this is like the story. And what happened is senior leadership was not sitting there making decisions about how much compute versus how much memory you produce. They just were the recipient of the observation that, wait a second, these 5 factories are starting to produce more chips. Like why are they producing more chips than memory? And then they were like, oh my God, like chips are the thing. And then that led to the like massive boom at Intel. Okay. So like, why am I sharing that? What I'm trying to do at Firma is help people understand that they can't just like build a product and push it out. And I mean, Max said something about product marketing. And so, I mean, this is a massive topic that we could spend hours talking about.
Yeah.
But the simplest thing as an engineer is if you're going to build something that is supposed to do a job, I don't care what the measurement is for that job. I'm not opinionated, but it has to have some feedback loop that tells you whether or not it's doing that thing. Whatever that feedback loop is has to be included in the push of that product, such that, similar to this factory analogy, when you're like sitting back and looking at it, so that way you can do this curation job easier, because otherwise you're never going to be able to do any curation. You're like, how the hell do you even know what to do? And so ideally, these things are making decisions on their own. Any given feature is making a decision on its own as to whether or not it should be served. Like, these things are, because we're going to be able to produce so much, the harder question is going to be, are you producing systems that are self-regulating such that either it'll seek to do more of it or it'll seek to do less of it because of what it is receiving as feedback? And this I'm trying to do across the whole company. So I'm trying to do it at the engineer level, the product level, the marketing level, the account management level, because the speed with which you can do things is so fast now. It also, by the way, it makes decisions. This whole like, one-way versus two-way door decisions, it basically switches that quite a lot, because one of the biggest things with a one-way door is that it's only actually one way in the context of a given time frame. So, and if the time frame is collapsing, then your one-way doors all of a sudden become two-way doors. And so everything is a two-way door. And so if everything is a two-way door, you can actually push decisions out faster as long as people walk backwards. And so now you have to teach people to walk backwards, right? Anyway, so this is like, and I know you guys get it, but it is very hard to push this type of thinking into the organization because it feels abstract to people, but it is not abstract at all. Like, if you can actually implement this well, it will change the pace of your organization in a massive way. It's just, at least I am finding it very hard to do.
It feels like the ideal is what you're describing, and it feels like what was that growth handbook, the high growth handbook? Did you guys read that? By it's like Eli Gill, right? It's like the best book that I read for this game we're playing. He like opens up with a lot of these system talks and like how to, he gets into how do you build systems and things like that. And I don't know, when you're in the thick of it, it's so hard to like move yourself out to like get that view on things and build these things. And you're kind of always like, you should be doing that. And maybe certain things go sideways. You're like, if only I did do that, If I did have the mission super clear to the whole company all the time, if I did review it all the time with the company meetings and things like that, and really was clear in the roadmap for everybody internally. And I think it's like providing clarity. Like it's like what we're trying to do. And it's all very ideal. I almost feel as though you have to do that more than ever now because of how fast things can be. And one thing you just said is teaching people to go back out the door and back in. Like they have to be okay with the fact that they maybe spent a lot of time building something and it's gone. Different world now, and it can be so painful when your thing's gone. We've dealt with that recently, and it's definitely disruptive what's going on. And it's being very clear in the communication, like this is the world we're in, and we're trying to figure it out together. And assume good intentions.
I think in e-commerce SaaS, our customers are feeling something similar, right? I like this idea of competition refining what's valuable, whether it's does the product work and actually do the job properly, or is this matching what consumers are actually asking for, what demand is, right? And maybe there's a through line there between the shift towards more curated as opposed to planning, right? Where planning is supply side, build something great and they'll come, right? And demand side is curating and killing. It's entrepreneurial judgment from whoever's job it is to do product. I can't help but like notice that between SaaS founders, mature and startups, there seems to be like a common thread and a response to AI, and that's that to the customers that we're serving, and that's that SaaS founders are looking for moats, And the marketers are having to burn the bridges. They're having to destroy their old processes and adapt to the new ones in a similar way to the SaaS businesses. It started with copywriters, and they were all very poetic and flowery about how, with their ethics conversations about how AI couldn't do their job. But then it's everyone. Suddenly it moves from copywriters to everyone, right? And everyone has to reanalyze, whether it's the ops guy, it's the, media buyer, it's the creative marketer. Let's rewrite this playbook and understand how we can do, much more complex, systematic things that just can't be done as an individual. If you think about like email with Klaviyo, for example, you can't send out 100,000 emails, right? As an individual, you need software and income software to solve those problems for the marketer, right? Understanding the marketer's job.
Can I ask you about the really hard question? I'm going to reveal to you guys literally an internal debate that was happening on my leadership channel this morning that both of your comments is alluding to. Okay. What you're both describing is showing to the company what is this new thing that is expected of them. Okay. You're both hitting on the same thing. You're saying, hey guys, the world has changed significantly. So Max, you're seeing it in the context of the tech company that you run. Jack, you're seeing it in the context of a brand. It's guys, you are now expected to do operate at this whole new level, right? That's what you're saying. And not only are you saying that, literally we are saying every month the level that you're expected to operate at is shifting. Okay, we're saying both of those things, right? Because Jack, you implicitly said it. You didn't exactly say it, but you implicitly said it because you said it started with copywriters and now it's everyone. So that is in effect the same thing. How do you land that without coming across harsh? And I'm asking this because literally this morning, I spent the last 3 hours talking to my leadership question because they are telling me that I am coming across as hot. I mean, I'm being hyper transparent to the company, and people are like, Rishabh, you got to cool your jets, and I'm like, my jets are not getting cooled, guys. I was like, what I am not sure how to do is articulate to the company, I am just the messenger. This is happening with or without us, with or without me. This is happening. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that we are on the right side of it. And we'll see whether my best is sufficient. But that's how I am interacting with it. I'm very curious how you guys are interacting with it, because this is the guts of, this is very hard leadership communication. Very hard leadership communication.
I could take a stab at it. Guys, it's this is what I did all week. This whole thrash, I want to call it there's always thrash in startups, especially at the beginning. There's just crazy thrash. This feels like just continual thrash on things that, we used to think had a lot of solid staying power long term, let's call it dashboard SaaS, let's call it that, right? That felt like just something that's always, it's got some life for a very long time. And that's compressing. And you just look at the market right now. Whether that's overhyped, which a lot of it is, but I think we all can agree that after the fact, it's still going to come down. And if you have really unique data, really unique proposition around that data, or whatever can fit into this AI economy, context, data, organ, that's going to last. That's going to be great. But there's real pressure, and it's everywhere, and everyone's saying it. And no one can debate that. So during all of this, we sort of had to I hate the word, I kind of like it, but founder mode. I mean, we all hear this, but there is an intuition. You have to just put your seatbelt on and feel it. You want to try to quantitatively tell me to explain myself. No, because it's this intuition that entrepreneurs have to just go. And AJ and I had to jump into that in the past, all the more so the past 60 days to get some of our AI stuff moving. And we had to stop paying attention to certain things, not the main things. And that caused a lot of thrash, disruption, communication, people feeling, whatever. I don't want to say scared, but it is it's a different world we're going into.
Imagine speaking to grandparents about e-commerce, right? I'm not sure if any of you have tried this, but this is all so foreign to them. The idea of people actually purchasing most of their things online, they've already seen it, right? They saw it move from billboards and newspapers to suddenly everything's online and all purchases are happening on smartphones and they don't even know how to use them, right? So it's like, I don't know, the market moves, and that's why
That's happening right now. We can poke the revolution. We're in it.
This is, I think every founder is dealing with this, right? My approach has basically been like a couple of things. One, like, we're probably not going to be in business in a few years if we don't figure this out. So that's like one thing. So it's like, if you want to work here, we have to figure this out. It's not an option. And then two, I've been trying to really get in the weeds with people too. So like, I'll ask an engineer, hey, how did you use, because we're still trying to get like everybody using these tools, right? Like, hey, what did you do for this, right? And if I don't like the answer, then I'll get in and be like, hey, can I show you what somebody else is doing and how this works? And like literally sit down, walk somebody through that and be like, hey, check this out. It feels like a very draining use of my time in a lot of ways, but I know that if I can sit down and actually like walk through that with somebody and level them up, it has compounding impact. And that takes me, I don't know, 30 or 60 minutes out of my day to potentially increase their ability by 10, 20% in terms of what they're doing. It's not quite that easy, but the point is I'm trying to do a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot more education, a lot more showing how people are doing things. Because I think the reality too is with these tools, nobody really actually knows the best way to use any of these things. We're all just trying to figure it out.
That's a big deal. I think that's a big point, is like, you almost don't want the seasoned guy to tell you you want his opinion, but like, you also want to be like, dude, let's just be humble for a second here. Like, we don't know and nobody knows. And like, let's go at it together with trust.
Yeah. Can I show you guys something? All right. Did you guys see this morning? This post from Alfred Lin. Okay. If for whatever reason someone is still listening to this on like Apple Podcasts or whatever and not watching, we're living through a period of compounding change. And in moments like this, the biggest risk is no longer making the wrong decision. It is moving too slowly while the world moves around you. There are two paths. We can play defense, protect what we have, optimize what works, wait for clarity. It feels safe. It isn't.
Yes.
Or we can play offense, learn faster than the environment changes, use new tools to solve old problems in better ways, and create entirely new strategies and businesses. That's where the opportunity is. Challenge yourself to do things faster and better than you have ever attempted. Stay uncomfortable. Stay on the front foot. Okay. And can I tell you guys what was said here that was the big insight? It's these two lines. It feels safe, it isn't, and stay uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And what I am struggling with personally.
What else does that remind you of? Like, you guys are all entrepreneurs, right? You guys are all entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone just became like a 10x, like, opportunities everywhere. I don't know. Like, people used to say, I just interrupted you. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say one last thing, but like, back in the day, I remember all my friends were like going, I went to college, obviously, but I do nothing related to what I studied, zero. And I remember at the time when I like decided not to do what I studied and I just become entrepreneurial, not get the 9 to 5. I was always telling myself that it's actually riskier to try to find a stable, safe thing than to just be making the bets because it's moving too fast, all the more so now. Anyways.
Yeah, no. This is exactly right. I mean, what I am wondering though, is this CEO is not trying to make his team feel comfortable. He's just saying, I'm acknowledging reality. Or she, I have no idea who this person is, right?
Right.
Whoever this person is has decided that they're not going to even bother trying to tell their team, like, hey, here's how you can get comfort. They're saying like, no, guys, I hate to break it to you. This is reality. And you have to embrace that reality, which is equal to, you think this other thing is safe, it's not. And you have to get used to being uncomfortable, which is a very hard message to send.
Yeah. Get comfortable.
I think comfort's a really.
I think too. So this is something I think about a lot. So I'm in a CEO peer advisory group with local businesses. So I'm here in the Denver area. They're all in different industries, right? It's not software businesses. And I look at the salaries that we pay people compared to what all these other industries pay. And I think that in tech, for a long time, people have had very cushy jobs with very high salaries. And when you get into that frame of mind, it is hard to get out of that. And as a founder, I'm used to not making money most of the time. I actually didn't, I did negative net worth until I was 30, probably, because the first 10 years of my career, I just was terrible at it. Right. And so, anyway, like that was my experience. And so I don't really have a problem with the discomfort. I'm used to it. I'm used to jumping into things that are painful and may make me money, may not make me money. I mean, like, for example, I'm taking a pay cut this year if we don't perform better than we did last year. Whereas I don't ask that of any of my employees, right? They're all getting raises. And so, like, it's just a different way of operating. And I think that, like, I think it's been so cushy for so long. And I think it's at some point in time, there's a correction that comes for every industry. And the reality is, like, I think that's what we're seeing right now. It's like, okay, if if the typical person is out there making, I don't know, like I've got a friend who owns a company and he like, blows mulch all over the place, right? Like his workers make, I don't know, 60K a year if they're doing really well. That feels like peanuts compared to somebody in this industry. And so it's just like a different way of, I think we're just seeing a correction ultimately. And that's part of what's happening here. And I think if you want to make a lot of money, it's going to require a lot of challenge and hard work.
Do you think it's a correction or just like these are the tools we have now as a humanity? And it's like, sometimes I think about it before Shopify, right? To make a store, it was like super hard to do, right? You had to build it, you had to get like an engineer, and then Shopify's like out of the box, and now everyone's got a store, right? I almost feel as though like that's sort of similar to some of this, right? It's like, now everyone can just like build a SaaS company in a sense, or someone can build like a workflow that's like so, it's like everyone becomes an entrepreneur, like if you want. And now it's like, can you take the risk? Can you be uncomfortable?
It's more like a industry that has like this industry has kind of become commoditized in a way, right? Like it's not that hard to find somebody to drive a truck. Lots of people know how to drive, right? There's a
Exactly.
little bit of a skill gap,
Supply and
right?
demand, right? Everyone can kind of
Yeah,
do. More
exactly.
people can do the thing that made you that much like more unique. Is like the playing fields are kind of equalizing. You have to have like I don't know. There's something I saw about like the rise of the demise of white collar, the rise of blue collar now. It's like plumbers are now going to be like. I mean, plumbers have always been like these jobs that nobody wanted to do. I mean, you went to college to be someone who can do something with information, and now like you can get into something physical with your hands. It's like you're now more valuable.
I think that being uncomfortable is like probably one of the easiest proxies for a low time preference, right? If you're high time preference, you satisfy your immediate desires instantly, and then that kind of dulls your edge. You become incapable of doing things that are harder and span longer time frames. And I think that, that's probably what we're seeing with developers. They were a very scarce resource, and now the resource of, being able to build is so much more abundant that it's like, you've got to adapt to survive or, struggle, right? Really struggle as, the market catches up as like industrious, hungry people actually work harder than you. When I say work, I don't mean like, put in more hours. I mean like actually want to make things better than they were before, while you just want to enjoy continuing to be comfortable, right?
Yeah. And the thing that's like disrupting you, you can actually ask it how to get better. Yeah, that's interesting, right? Could teach you something new.
But you have to want to. You have to want to ask it, how do I get better?
100%. I think that's what's happening is like, do you chat GPT a love letter to your wife or do you write that thing? You know what I mean? It's like, no, you got to write that thing. You got to want to do it. And that's the effort to make the relationship. It's like, it's the same thing of making value, producing value, like bringing your unique thing that's going to.
Right. I think there's a really interesting through line between, our customers, whether they're, solo founders, a lot of founders are making a huge amount of the decisions in their business about, go to market, and the SaaS founders that are listening to this podcast. And that's that, a marketer, a Shopify user, their job is the entrepreneur's job, right? They have to find arbitrage in the market, that favorable gap between what you put in and what you get out, your investment and your return on a reasonable payback period, right? And I think that's how we ended up here in e-commerce. The market moved in a small part from retail to buying online, and their attention moved from TV to social media, right? You could spend $1 to make $4 on Facebook ads. and then everyone moves there. There's arbitrage, right? I guess you could look at like a bunch of the different ways that this has taken shape in organic social media back when it was like chronological feed and you could just spam and you get sales. And then moving on to SEO and all of these different like hacks, right? Where there was some benefit in like, you know, just capitalizing on the hack, right? And getting a little bit of arb. But I think that right now, people don't know how to get it, right? The marketers, the founders, they don't know how to get it. So in comes software to like help them solve those increasingly complicated problems, right? I'm not sure if you guys saw this from Nick Shackelford, but this is a big reason why I think that tools like, and I mean, forget the fact that it's actually already really hard to use numbers adaptively. Most people are cherry picking like 3 numbers, coming up with a conclusion that educates a decision that is wildly off base because they don't actually know how to use the numbers in the first place. But then you layer in the complexity of not actually getting the right numbers, right? And not knowing how to use them in the first place. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's going to catch up and this is all going to be super accurate eventually. But then still you're going to have the problem of people not knowing actually how to use information that they're consuming adaptively, right?
100%. Moby has this ability to like forecast, and it uses standard models like, from Google, and it has like the best sort of forecasting models. Like, I don't know how easy it's going to be for someone, even for myself when I was running my business, to just like ask it for a forecast and be like, okay, I'm going, like you're going to need a level of someone who knows how to explain to you what's going on here and like make sure it's right and accurate. And so you still need that human element to it, right? You do. There's something about it. You need that reassurance. That was just an example of, I think, what you're hitting on there. It's like people are so quick to sort of not only outsource their cognitive like sort of discipline, right? But also like the job you're trying to get this thing to do is never a job you were doing. Were you like a data analyst? Were you? There's still room for a lot of these. Yeah, it's very hard for me to kind of think that all these jobs are just extinct and like all of a sudden AI is going to do everything. I just think you can do a lot more now, and it's an amazing tool. I also really admit, like I have no idea either. Like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know.
Totally. I think the critical thing that was missed in that tweet, which I think, Max, is what you're saying, is there's a presumption that the output is the thing of value. And I think that that's like a dangerous presumption. It is only always ever the case that the thing of value is the right question. And so, of course, if you say something like, give me a forecast, you're going to get the wrong answer because you're not even asking the right question. It's like, it's like whatever, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like, what is the meaning of life? 42. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you ask a bad question, you're going to get a bad answer. And I think that what was missed in that dialogue, which is why I did not engage, was like, no, guys, actually, the problem is that most people who have never done this before don't know the right questions to ask. So like the value of experience has very quickly become knowing what the right questions to ask are. Like this is like Jeremiah's life. But knowing what the right questions to ask are. Because if you know what the right questions to ask are, then yes, of course, like the tactics of like adding 1 + 1 such that it equals 2, you should outsource that, right? Like we've had calculators forever. There's a bunch of things that you should not do. And now the span of the things that you should not do has gone up a lot. But actually, it kind of turns out, like with any other system in life, garbage in, garbage out. You ask a bad question, you're going to get a bad answer. That is obvious. That is also true when you direct people. Like we manage teams. You ask your team to do something dumb, guess what? You're going to get something dumb in response, right? Like badly articulated direction receives badly articulated or bad outcomes. So
Yeah.
But anyway, this was Max. By the way, I'm sorry I didn't say in the beginning, but dude, I can't believe we've never met before, and this was incredible.
I thought we did meet before at the Whaleys. No, didn't you come there once?
No, I've never been to a Whaleys.
Well, okay, you're gonna come this time. Would you come?
I'll come. Hey man, if I'm your guest, then I'll come.
I think I met your co-founder then.
Yes, you met my co-founder. Yeah. He's better looking than me, so the fact that you mistook me for him is like,
I don't know. I don't think so. No.
It's like that's a good sign.
I thought both of you were there. I don't know.
But well, thanks, Max. Appreciate it. It's been good chatting.
Good. Yeah, guys. Should do it again. We should hang out another time. It's just fun.